Hello everybody, welcome to the Geeks Handbag, coming to you from somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I hope you're all keeping well. And today I'm going to be taking a look at this gorgeous selection of recently released Doctor Who books. So we've got Evil of the Daleks by Fraser Hines, the new illustrated edition of Rose, The Star Beast by Gary Russell, Wild Blue Yonder by Mark Morris, The Giggle by James Goss, and The Church on Ruby Road by Esme Chikimi Pearson. So, Rose by Russell T Davies. This originally came out as a Target book back in 2018. Now released as this gorgeous hardback edition illustrated by Robert Hack. I love the cover on this. It's vibrant and full of colour with the Doctor and Rose surrounded by Autons there with Big Ben in the background. On the back of the book, we get more Autons causing chaos and destruction around London with people trapped on the London Eye. So it's a really nice cover to the book, and it gives you some idea of the sort of illustrations we'll see as we take a look inside. And so let's do just that. So as we open it up, we've got that lovely diamond logo with Rose underneath. Rose Russell T Davies with the Doctor stood by the console. And it's a nice big thick book. It's well over 200 pages long, and it's absolutely full of gorgeous artwork by Robert Hack. So we will take a closer look at some of this nice artwork as I go through, but I'll just give you a quick flick through for now so you get the idea. And there's some nice surprises in this book as well. It is a slightly expanded edition of the story. It does give some extra content as well. So yeah, but for now, I'm just having a flick through so you can see some of the gorgeous artwork you can expect to see as you work your way through this book. When you slide off the dust jacket, you can see that the book has this nice blue hardback cover with the Doctor Who logo on it. Rose is an important story in Doctor Who's history. It relaunched the show back in 2005, and it introduced us to a new Doctor played by Christopher Eccleston and his new travelling companion Rose played by Billie Piper. In this beautifully illustrated book, Russell T Davies uses the pages not only to flesh out the story itself, but the characters within it. For example, we get to spend some quality time with Clive in his shed, looking through some of the archive material he's managed to collect from the Doctor's previous adventures. Even Rose's work colleague Wilson gets a little backstory. There's loads of nice references to the Doctor's past in the book. For example, we see the first Doctor and the War Machines and the fifth Doctor with Concorde, and as well as these previous incarnations, surprisingly, we also get a glimpse into the Doctor's future as well. But of course, the bulk of the story is centred around Rose herself and her desire to find a better, more exciting life away from the Powell estate and her mother and Mickey. She meets this crazy man called the Doctor as they're thrust into their first adventure together, fighting Autons across London. And the Auton invasion itself is much grander than we saw on the television, with Robert Hack's beautiful illustrations bringing to life a variety of different Autons, some of which are really creepy and scary. Even on the pages that have lots of text, there are lovely little illustrations that help bring the story to life, be it the Auton hand that strangles the Doctor, or Jackie's mobile phone with an incoming call from Rose. The story beautifully builds up to that moment where Rose has to make the decision whether to stay on Earth and carry on living out her everyday life, or take a chance for a more exciting lifestyle with this crazy man she just met called the Doctor, as she runs towards his funny little blue box, which will take them both on many more adventures to come. Rose by Russell T Davies is a really enjoyable story, which is complemented by Robert Hack's gorgeous illustrations. Between the two of them, they really have created a beautiful book to own. Rose is the second story to be released in these hardback illustrated editions. The first was Doctor Who and the Daleks, which was released back in 2022. It was also illustrated by Robert Hack, who does a lovely job of bringing this story to life. Well, it's a great story anyway, actually, the Daleks, but the artwork inside here really does complement it very nicely. So we've got the Doctor and the TARDIS. There's a lovely shot of the TARDIS interior somewhere in here. I think it's there. Absolutely stunning. So yes, I recommend picking up this book as well if you don't already have it. And so, on to The Evil of the Daleks, written by Fraser Hines. And what a cracking cover to the book, with the Emperor Dalek towering over everyone menacingly. It has a real retro feel to it, and I really like it. The Evil of the Daleks was originally novelised by John Peel back in 1993. Here, Fraser Hines gives us a fresh new take on the story, and whilst being a faithful retelling of what we saw on screen, Fraser tackles the narrative from a brand new direction, which works incredibly well. The story actually starts by picking up from the events at the end of The Wheel in Space, with Zoe wanting to join the Doctor and Jamie in the TARDIS as a full-time companion. So the Doctor, using a mind projector, shows her one of their scariest adventures to give her an idea of what she can expect if she joins them. This is where the story of the Evil of the Daleks really begins. When it was scripted back in 1967, it was originally intended to be the last Dalek story ever, but as I'm sure you know, the Daleks return many times after this. To be honest, although they are sometimes overused, I'm glad they didn't kill them off for good. I consider The Evil of the Daleks to be a really good story, and because Fraser Hines was involved in the production at the time, he knows the characters well and he writes them beautifully, especially the Doctor and Victoria. It should be pointed out that he has had a helping hand adapting the story from Mike Tucker and Steve Cole. However, you can really feel Fraser's passion for the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and his era coming through in the writing style. I would love to see Fraser write more in the future. So, even if you're lucky enough to own the John Peel book, I still recommend picking up this new adaptation from Fraser Hines. It totally stands on its own 2 feet, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. So here I have the new Doctor Who Target books. These are the novelizations for the 3 specials we got for the 60th. So, we have The Star Beast by Gary Russell, Wild Blue Yonder by Mark Morris, and The Giggle by James Goss. And I really do love the artwork on these books. It's something a little bit different for the Target books. So, we've got the lovely new logo at the top of each one, and then on the Star Beast we've got the Doctor and Donna with the Meep. Then on Wild Blue Yonder you've got Donna in the middle there with that funny little robot at the bottom which she called Jimbo, and then on the Giggle we've got Donna and the Doctor and the toy maker throwing out some cards. So a slightly different style of cover for these Target books, something a little bit different for these specials, and I really do like it. So The Star Beast, the first of the 60th anniversary specials, although the story actually originates from Doctor Who Weekly from back in the 1980s. It was a comic strip written by Pat Mills and illustrated by Dave Gibbons. Rusty Davies took the core elements of that story, swapped the 4th for the 14th Doctor, and added in some of his own ideas to deliver what we saw on screen. Here we get a novelisation of that TV episode, adapted by Gary Russell. The synopsis for the book reads, landing on Earth, the Doctor finds a stranded alien in need of protection and is dragged headlong into the life of his old friend Donna Noble, knowing that if she ever remembers their time together, she will die. Although a fairly straightforward retelling of what we saw on screen, there is more room to breathe in this novelisation and things are expanded upon. We feel the Doctor's uncertainty at having an old face back, and wonderful characters like Sylvia Noble have whole chapters showing the story from her perspective. We really feel her love towards her daughter Donna, but also her resentment towards the Doctor. The Meep is such a wonderful character, and without giving too much away, Gary Russell manages to capture both sides of the Meep's personality. From doughy-eyed cuteness to wide-eyed terror, the Meep literally jumps off the page at you. There's also the inclusion of nice characters like Sharon Fudge and Stu Ferguson, who add a lot of warmth and depth to the story. And it wouldn't be a Gary Russell novelisation without throwing in some classic Doctor Who Easter eggs along the way. The Star Beast is a short book and I read it very quickly, but it has plenty going on and I enjoyed it. I think it's a good introduction to the 14th Doctor and a fun way to start his ongoing adventures with Donna. Next up, it's Wild Blue Yonder, this time written by Mark Morris, an author that's predominantly known for writing horror stories, and therefore he would seem an ideal choice for adapting this creepy, atmospheric story. And the synopsis for this one, the Doctor and Donna are trapped on board a mysterious spacecraft. Fate of the crew? Unknown. Fate of the universe if what's on board gets out? Terminal. In many ways, this is a difficult story to adapt because much of what made the story great on screen relied on the performances of the actors and the visuals around them. Mark Morris does his best to recreate the tension and claustrophobia of the story, and for the most part he does it well. He also writes for the Doctor and Donna beautifully and really captures the banter between them as they get to know each other again. But overall, this is a very straightforward, almost word-for-word retelling of what we saw on screen. Once again, it's a short book and I read it very quickly, and although I would have loved to have seen some of the horror elements of the story built up a little bit more, I think the author does a good job in capturing the creepy essence of the story. Wild Blue Yonder is a solid read from start to finish, and overall I enjoyed it. And the third special in this trilogy was of course The Giggle, and this one's been adapted by James Goss. And the synopsis for this one, with old friends powerless to help, the Doctor is drawn into a deadly duel against an old nemesis who can bend reality to his will and change the Doctor's future forever. Straight off the bat, I'm going to say I absolutely loved reading this book. It was so much fun. This is far from just a straightforward novelisation. James Goss actually embodies the toy maker to tell the story as we navigate through various games and puzzles, and even the chapter headers have been renamed Move 1, 2, 3 and so forth. Despite having fun with the reader, the book still manages to stick closely to the script and what we saw on screen. The characters are written with warmth, especially Donna, and we really feel the presence of the toy maker throughout the book. It all builds up really nicely to the bioregeneration and the reveal of the 15th Doctor. So, having made our final move, it's game over, and I really enjoyed reading this book. James Goss has put his own stamp on it, delivered something a little bit different and something very special. I believe this will go down as an absolute classic in the Doctor Who target book range. And so, with the 15th Doctor making his first appearance in the Giggle, the final book we're going to be looking at today is his first proper adventure and novelisation, The Church on Ruby Road. And the synopsis inside says, chance, misfortune, coincidence, these are the weapons of choice for the Doctor's latest enemies. And those enemies are very, very hungry. For Ruby Sunday, this Christmas Eve is a birthday she'll never forget. It's the day she joins the Doctor on board a goblin ship. The day she learns of dangers from beyond the universe. The day her life really begins. Or perhaps the day it ends. There's a nice quote from the Doctor on the back of the book as well. It says, I've been waiting all this time for my life to begin. Maybe it's time to stop waiting. Maybe it's time to start living. Esme Jakimi Pearson delivers a faithful retelling of this Christmas special and seems to really enjoy writing for the 15th Doctor and Ruby. The instant chemistry we saw between the two of them on screen has been nicely replicated by the author in this book. Although I enjoyed the TV episode, I did find it a little clunky in places, whereas the book seems to flow very nicely. It's full of emotion, particularly between the Doctor, Ruby and Ruby's mum. But there's also lots of fun moments in the book, like when they're on the goblin ship and the goblins are singing their goblin song about eating babies. Like the TV episode, the book leans into fantasy and escapism, and I found it to be a delightful read. I'd also like to give a shout out to Lee Binding for the absolutely stunning front cover. In the past, we've had to wait ages, sometimes even years, for certain Doctor Who stories to get novelised, so it's really nice to see these books come out so soon after being on the TV. So a really nice selection of Doctor Who books that have recently been released, and with more on the way, it looks like us Doctor Who fans are in for a really good year. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do check out The Geek's Handbag on Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget, I also do a Doctor Who podcast with my good friend Gary called The Big Blue Box Podcast. So do give that a listen. But until the next time, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.